Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm coming on so late. It is almost 11 o'clock. Um, and this is day 890. I think we should start a countdown. I don't want to start a countdown to 1,000 days, but this is 990. Sorry, 990. This is day 990. Can you believe it? Since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss, who now we believe was lured out of his barracks room, to a party. Um, that would explain the text messages. Um, and he was lured out where there was a plan. There was a plan. That's our suspicion. And today's live stream is called Suspects and 1,000 Days. We have a campaign going on right now for 1,000 days, 1,000 letters. Let's see if I can put that up. Here so I can share that with you. Let's see. I don't like to go into this Facebook. I shouldn't do that. I think I'm going to go here. Yep. I'll even use my phone to add it. But we have a campaign, 1,000 letters. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on and being patient. You know that we have been made essentially the investigators of our son's murder case. And I say that very seriously. And we don't have a huge staff. We don't have a DA and the AUSAs like Greg McDonald or Jaime Esparza, and Ian, I forget his last name. I should know their names very, very well. Like Bill Hicks, he's the DA. And then the DA before this when Richard went missing. And I believe that was DA Rosales. I should know them all very, very well, along with the generals. The general that is very interesting that the general that was replaced by Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. Now, he was just a 1-star that had just made his 2nd star when he came to El Paso, and he made his 3rd star pretty quick. Interesting that he made his 3rd star the way he did is very, very interesting, and I'll be talking about that. But the general that he replaced went to South Korea. It is interesting that one of these phone call leads came from South Korea. I wonder if ADA, there is a lot, now that I think about it, there's a lot of ADA there in South Korea. So, I'm just putting everything together, and like a reasonable person would do, someone that would reason, someone that would try to figure out this tragedy, I don't like to even call it a tragedy. I would like to call it a crime. It is a major, major crime on so many levels. It's a major crime with so many more crimes piled up. So yeah, I'm just trying to put it all together, and we're learning something new every day. And so we need because we don't have the big staff, because I don't have a technician or anything. I do it all myself and with Rob. We need the Inspector General to inspect the botched investigation. I would call it the criminal investigation, the botched criminal investigation, the national security threat botched criminal investigation, the treasonous national security threat botched uh, criminal investigation of Find Richard Halliday. And because it's treasonous, because it's a national security threat, because it was using military operations against Richard and against our family, because it was using asymmetric warfare tactics against Richard and our family, because it was botched, because there were leaks, because there was so much cover up going on, so much protecting of the crime instead of establishing justice, right? Protecting the Constitution of the United States, the land and the people, which we have commissioned them to do. We have commissioned the Army to do that. We've commissioned the AUSAs to do that. We've commissioned the DA to do that. The IG, the Inspector General, to do that. We have commissioned Representative Veronica. What do I want to say? Veronica Escobar, Cover Up Veronica. I need a good name for her. Cover Up Veronica doesn't ring real pretty, but that's exactly what has happened here. And we're looking at the suspects, and we're looking at again the PI and his role that he played with Hardy Hay. That was of TRADOC. We are looking at the roles of Danae and Belen. We're looking at the roles again of who drove the truck, who was at the party. These are the things that who lured Richard to the party, and who covered all this up, because covering up the crime is also so criminal. And then to launch a smear campaign on top of it is also so criminal. And what Lieutenant General, 3-star General Sean Bernabe did was totally criminal. And you have to understand, we have Veronica Escobar telling us, and I probably should print those out. Let's see. I'm going to do it all through. One thing at a time. I've got so much to share with you. It's been a really crazy day because of every day new information has come out. Here we have the dates that we're going to inquire about. July 29th, 2020. And here we are so transparent that remains were found, partial remains were found during that time or around that time, all the way to August 7th, where an additional partial remains were found of Richard. We are honing down on the area that they were found right now. We know it's desert, and that's pretty tough when you're talking about the El Paso area. But we have our areas, and it is really something that we have to do all this. So here it is. I'll put that out there. I can share that. I can share, this is all about the IG and about our t-shirt that we will be putting out. I wish we could do this much quicker than what we're doing, but like I said, we have so much new information coming out that we don't have enough people. And they count on that, they count on that. So we're asking for your help to write the letters to the IG. And I know I've gotten a lot of feedback, and that's why I'm continuing to do this. Here it is. I found it. Okay, so let me scroll down here and open this up, and you can see it. So it's 1,000 letters for 1,000 days. Um, and you can send it to the Inspector General. You can just open this up. Inspector General of the Department of Justice, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C., 20530-0001. This is Michael Horowitz. He is the Inspector General. And we have, Rob has put in, and we had to spend money on it, of course. And this is after, okay, you have to understand that we have information right now that Richard's remains were found before we even knew that Richard was missing. And so all of the monies that we have raised and spent to find Richard was a joke to all of the agencies and the command. And that was part of the harassing. That was part of the harassing. That was a part of the asymmetric warfare tactics, the military operations. And we were even kind of pushed to get a lawyer and all of this. And the PI, we were directed to even get which PI. And we bit on that like fish trusting in the system. And the system betrayed us. And we paid him $5,000 for betrayal. And you have to remember, this is after the reports, and we have good reports, and many of them, that Richard's partial remains already had been found. And then we also, months after October of 2020, when we had the encounter with the cashier, that in less than an hour before that we made it there, she had the encounter with the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. And, he was saying that he was with the FBI. So now we suspect that he was an FBI informant, and that he had some connections because he never got in trouble for posing as being with the FBI. And he said that the FBI were looking for the remains of Richard there in Juarez, Mexico, and that Richard had been found. Now we understand why they were looking in different places, right? We understand that because our reports are that 2 or 3 different locations of partial remains of Richard. And this is what we're learning right now. And here I am, the mother. I have to listen to this. I have to suffer through it. And I have been made, with my husband, with Team Find Richard Halliday, the investigators, the fighters for justice in the case for our son in his murder case. And that is a criminal. Absolutely criminal. When we pay out trillions of dollars, we are in trillions of dollars in debt. We pay out so much money to commission, to have a government that will fight for justice for us, that will learn the law and carry it out for us, that will represent us for us, and that will defend the Constitution for us. And they've all let us down. And then I don't even want to start with the media, because the media is a checks and balances for them. But it's no excuse. The media not covering them and being a checks and balance is no excuse for the agencies to go to the extent that they have, especially the U.S. Army, General McConville, General Mealy, who I heard is retiring. He should not be allowed to retire. They need to arrest him. They need to arrest General McConville for crimes against humanity, for treason, for the betrayal of all of our service members, the betrayal of our country, and they need to be investigated. They need to be audited. They need to be tried, and a just punishment. A just punishment needs to be. They need to be held accountable for the damage that they have done, and it's huge. And they have, just for an example, why we need the IG to take command here and investigate. We have Representative Veronica Escobar, so I should say Representative Cover Up Veronica. We have her sending us an acknowledgement letter for all of our inquiries. And I have posted just about all of our letters. And anyone who's paying attention knows that they are probably more than 1,000 inquiries that we have made, 1,000 questions for 1,000 days that we have made in the case of our son, Where's Richard? Which brings me to the t-shirt, Where's Richard? So this will be the logo on the t-shirt, Where's Richard? And here is a look at it. This is some interesting information. Oops. And so, yeah, let me turn off the sound there. So, Where's Richard? We have Cover Up Veronica telling us, well, sending us this acknowledgement letter that's really just a campaign advertisement, okay? It's just a campaign advertisement, and I'll post it up. I've been meaning to do that, but it's been so crazy. I can't even tell you how crazy all of this information has been coming in now. And calls from, I did get a call from a veteran today. So, and I don't turn them away because we're doing this for them, the veterans, the service members, because Richard is a veteran, right? And they need to be respected. And our leadership needs to be held accountable for because they have a duty to look after our service members. They're volunteers. Anyway, so Cover Up Veronica sends us this campaign advertisement letter, except for one little point that, it's kind of like she's not happy that we turned down the meeting with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. He wanted to fly to South Carolina. She says there was a date set. There was no date set. Maybe he had a date set, but we had never agreed to any date with him. And this is like almost 2 years into this. Okay. So we had already been there. We had already been meeting with him, doing VTC meetings. And he wanted to come up. This is during the time that my father was dying. And he wanted to show us a video of Richard, the last video of Richard, where Richard is so afraid, y'all. He's so afraid for his life. He didn't realize that we already had the video. And so his intention was to just bring us pain. That was his intention. Because if he had good intentions, he would have told us at the many, many, many meetings that Richard was a whistleblower for child sex trafficking or for child abuse, that he was not happy with the way the unit was conducting itself, We're hearing it now with uh, the motives that are coming out of this party. Um, the motives that are coming out of this party. What they did to Richard. And so Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe knew all of this was going on, knew that Richard's remains had been found. He was still searching for more remains at Christmas time in this desert area. In that desert area, along railroad. What is it? Railroad. Let me see. I made a map of it. Let's see. Yeah. Railroad Drive. Yeah. Railroad Drive. Beyond Macomb Street. Yeah. So that area, and more. And more. So we're looking at different areas, but you can see where that area is. And of course, we have the reports of Richard's remains being found in Mexico. So it's all these partial remains. So someone must have had to have some surgical ability, mortuary ability to carry out this kind of crime. Or they were just sick, just totally sick. So Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, look at what they're making me do. They're making me talk about this on live to the world. So Sean Bernabe knew this. He knew that Richard was a whistleblower. He never bothered telling us any of this. He knew who the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugalo was when we were just calling him Dollar General Man, and he never bothered to tell us. He knew who Hemisocho was when we were saying, this is a leaker, this is a leaker. What is going on? They have connection with the CID. And he never bothered to tell us. And a year ago, when we found out that Special Agent CID, Tavita Nusa, was leaking, and the information that's coming in is that what they would do is they would take pictures of the files. They would take pictures of the files and send it through their phones. That's how they would illegally share these files. And that there was more people involved than just CID Tavita Nusa. So this is, because I've reported in the past that Leilani Hart was getting these leaked files and information, and she was the one that was spreading them. She was the one that was spreading them around. She was the main receiver of the photographs of the files, and then she would use her phone and I guess airdrop them to certain phones. Oh, let's just airdrop it to Delta Battery 143 ADA, right? Let's just, tell everybody what's going on. And so Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe knew this, what that was doing. It was taking a whistleblower who has whistleblower protection rights. We have to protect our whistleblowers, right? See something, say something. The Army has something called See Something, Say Something. And that gives whistleblowers protective rights. And they violated those rights by doxing Richard during these photographic illegal file shares. And this now, if you think I'm wrong, if I'm not on target, please call 941-677-0060 and clarify things for us, because this is the information that is coming in. This is the information we are getting. And it was more than just CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa. So, Lilani Hart has many, many friends there in El Paso at Fort Bliss because she was 15 years veteran and she was ADA and she even served under Major General Clem Coward, the same general that her son, First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, served under, and also the same general that this is the 11th Brigade. They were, they shared it, the same as Richard, right? And, so she has many contacts, many friends. And, so who is she sharing all these files and doxing Richard to? Taking away his whistleblower protective rights and putting him in danger. And it did put him in danger because the next thing we were told was that a certain person that is the, let's just say, somebody comes to the rescue. Somebody comes to the rescue and plans out how to get rid of Richard Halliday. And then another person texts him to lure him to the party. They're all at the party. They confront him. They kill him viciously. They put his body in parts. Well, first they put him in the back of a truck. Then they put his body in parts. And then they spread it out so that no one will ever find him. But you see, those are vicious crimes. But you never expect that the leadership of the United States military would cover it up and hide it from the family and not even contact family. You never expect. That is a worse crime. That's a worse crime. You never expect the DA. I would say, I don't know. I can't speak on that right now. But for the DA never to reach out. Never to reach out. Never to make themselves known to the family for help because that's their job. And you never expect the other attorneys for the USA, the Attorney General, and all of those that it's their duty to control the crime, whether it be border crime or, and that's Greg McDonald, or narcotics crime, or, and in this case, there's a real possibility that it's a weapon crime because I'll put the pieces together. We're reasoning people here in the Halliday with Team Find Richard Halliday. We're reasoning people. And Team Find Richard Halliday, we were brainstorming. Do you remember that Brigadier General David Stewart told us that Richard's barracks were flush with weapons? Why were all of these unauthorized weapons in the barracks? How many were there? His eyes got real big and he goes, they're flush with weapons. There was a lot of weapons. And I made a big to-do about that on live. And I received a call from CID, Agent Soto, Special Agent Soto. And he told us that it wasn't just Richard's barracks that had the problem. Okay? It wasn't just Richard's barracks that was flush with weapons. It was all of Fort Bliss. Do you remember that? Do people remember that? Well, remember that the ATF, so the alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives unit is involved in this case. They do not get involved in a case unless there's firearms and explosives involved in the case. And so that absolutely, we want to know about these unauthorized weapons that were flush all over Fort Bliss, including Richard's barracks, because we have information that is leading us to see how dangerous this gets. Not only is this about child trafficking, about child porn, child abuse, child porn, any porn is supportive of child sex trafficking, right? We know that. We know that because people are groomed. They're groomed, and we know that the Army allows grooming, that they are green lighting grooming. They might say they don't, but we have other proof of that, right? We have other proof that they're allowing the grooming. It is so bad, and I'm just, this guy's in uniform, okay? He's showing his erection. He's on our installations showing his erection. These are two separate guys, okay? These are two separate guys, all right? Yeah. Yeah. So we know that all of porn leads to child sex trafficking and taking advantage of the minds, the young minds, and the developmental minds of children. Okay, leading them astray, leading them to think that things that are just super harmful are normal. Leading them to think that crime is the norm, that's okay, and you're never going to be held accountable. So we know that the military is definitely active in all of that through this whole hasn't been quite 1,000 days for us, but for Richard it has. And this same lieutenant general that knew what happened to Richard, he knew it, y'all. And that launched a campaign to clean this up so that the family will never know, and insulted us with that Richard could have got 6 years in prison, accountability for underage drinking. And we're like, for what? He has one counseling slip for 0.04 BAC. Now, if you've got something more on him, you better put it down on paper, on military paper, right? And he has he's a yellow Interpol. So they had to go through the Attorney General, who is now Jaime Esparza, to go to the judge to get these subpoenas and warrants. That's what I've been, what I think, right? That's how they do things. Well, this is all new study to figure out why our system has failed us so bad. And what in the world could Richard, who is a yellow Interpol, right, adopted at age 5, baptized in the name of God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, homeschooled in the Midlands of Ireland, and Heidelberg, Germany. Um, Close family. Joins the military from South Korea to aspire. Is the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle in basic training and AIT. Is the guidon bearer, willing to be the guidon bearer. In today's Army, the guidon bearer is not honored. The guidon bearer is bullied. This is what I've been told numerous times. So he was willing to honor the guidon of his unit and be bullied by the undisciplined units that we have today that are groomed to be undisciplined, groomed not to have esprit de corps, groomed not to be loyal to their duty and their country, groomed to take part in the Vanity Fair of the drug industry, the illegal drug industry, the legal drug industry, because they've made the barracks marketplaces for illegal drugs and legal drugs. And in the trade of weapons. On top of this whole sex stuff. Whores and blow, and that's, after years and decades of whores and blow, let's do some child abuse. Let's do some child pornography. Let's videotape us abusing children. And let's market it. Let's distribute it. Let's broadcast it. And you can go back to my first videos. I had no clue. They have turned our military into the worst type of Vanity Fair. For the caring American. For the evil business money making on government expenses and everything, on the government dime, it's been pretty sweet. But for our country, it has been very ugly and very destructive, and it has been treason. And you connect the dots everywhere right now. So we're looking at the suspects. So we need the Inspector General to inspect the botched, the criminal, the treasonous investigation of Find Richard Halliday. The cold-blooded. I can't even imagine how these people sleep, especially Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. And, he's just doing the dirty work for General McConville and for General Mealy, right? And who are they serving? Because they're serving foreign and domestic enemies. And it's the same thing on the civilian side. Who are these people serving that they are avoiding with a 10-foot pole their duty in this case? And in many, many other cases, because I'm hearing it all the time, and I heard one today. So we're not getting justice. So many people are not getting justice. And that's why we have so much crime. And I guess this, opens up more jobs for more attorneys, and they get more beautiful buildings, bigger beautiful buildings with their own little private gardens and their cafes and their security and their air conditioning and their heating and whatever they want, and their big staffs and everything. And they might give us a sweet little lip service every so often. But they're just taking us for a ride. a ride in that hour and power of darkness that I mentioned um, yesterday, right? So this is Eastertide. The light is shining, and in my disgust, I need to find some happiness in all of this, that the light is shining, that we are figuring this out. But if you have information about this party that Richard was lured to and tortured and beat up and murdered and taken in a truck, and I don't know if it's that blue truck. Do you remember that blue truck? That blue truck? Um, hmm. We'll see. And taken out to be disposed of. Because the likes of Mealy, the likes of the Secretary of the Army, who flipped off a sitting senator, the likes of Representative Veronica Escobar, so cover up Veronica, that has oversight, but they're willing to cover up. They're the ones that are truly responsible, because when you know that there's no accountability for the most vicious crimes, then those vicious crimes increase. And in her letter, she's pointing that we're supposed to go to the man that has only taken us for a ride, that has put Richard in, that knew that Richard was in danger, that didn't speak up, that has put all service members in a very dangerous situation, exposed to even more dangerous crimes, which, he got a 3rd star for. So there's a man that came through for us, and I keep announcing it here because we're looking at Jay Paulin again. We're looking at, like I said, Belen. We're looking at Danae. We're looking at others in this horrific situation that we're in. And the Attorney General now, the DA, the Army, has put us, they're supposed to defend us. They're supposed to be our Department of Defense. They're supposed to defend our country. And they're supposed to keep us safe and keep us free of crime and all this stuff. And we give them trillions of dollars. And here we are, Find Richard Halliday, looking for our son. And they are so criminal that they have put us in such a position of danger. And we can't walk away, because if we do nothing, then the crime will even grow more. Do you see the situation we're in? We'll never find Richard. We'll never be able to get all his partial remains together and give him a proper burial. And yeah. So Sutherland Springs shooting victims get a little bit of justice. It's nothing. It's really nothing, because they've lost loved ones. They've been injured. They've suffered for years. They should have gotten justice very quickly, and we're guaranteed quick justice here, and they even let us down on that one. They're so bloated, and yet they're like, we're backlogged. We're backlogged. I think that's what Bill Hicks just said. We're so backlogged. That's because you don't do your job. That's why you don't do your job. Worse, you're so backlogged because we have so much crime, because we don't get justice because you guys don't do your job. Everything is so political. You could lock steps real quick with the stupid COVID, but now you're backlogged with all kinds of crime that COVID created because you ruined so many small businesses and people had to make money. And so, hey, they resort to crime. That's a known reaction. That's a known, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Help me out. Side effect of when you destroy an economy. When you destroy an economy, the side effect is more crime. So these are just such huge criminals. Huge criminals. And they knew everything before we even knew that our son was missing. They already had partial remains. They already had suspects. And don't forget, the whole Vanessa Guillen thing was tearing up the military. And they were fighting for their careers. And they put their careers above their duty, above the defense of this country, above the defense of the Constitution, the land, and the people. That's what happened. They did not want another Vanessa Guillen. And so with learning the information that we have today with this party and with the remains of Richard and all of this, and now this all is what we're being told that's fitting in with everything. And it's making sense of everything. And it all needs to be confirmed, absolutely. But I've got to tell you, I've got to share what is going on so that you understand what they have put us through. That they are making us investigators. That they are making us confirm all this information without the security clearance, without the staffs, without the funding. And with a lot more emotion because I'm Richard's mother and Rob is Richard's father and Team Find Richard Halliday is people that care about him. So the emotions are high. And it is it's torture. And day in and day out and day in and day out. And now we're finding out they knew it all. They knew it all. And they were having shadow meetings. And it looks like they were having shadow hearings. But we're going to confirm it all. And we'll let you know, like we always do. We have a lot of names that we're trying to confirm because a lot of people are involved in this. A lot of people are involved in even the murder of Richard. And then you have the disposal of the body. Then you have the cover up. Then you have the tampering with evidence. Then you have all the leaks, the illegal sharing of information. You have the illegal sharing of information before Richard ever went missing. That's what put him in danger to begin with, because they took a whistleblower, they took away his protective status and doxed him and put him in the middle of a very contentious divorce in a family that had a history of child abuse, and all kinds of nonsense. All kinds. Back to the 1990s. And Lieutenant General Bernabe didn't seem to think that was important to tell us in all of those meetings. And we have cover-up Veronica lecturing us that that's who we need to go to, when she has the power to get the legislative committees going, right? The inquiries, the legislative inquiries, the committees, the hearings. She has the power to do that. And she is pointing her finger at us. How dare you not want to meet with the man that has been lying to you and insulting you and keeping your son's body from you, his remains from you, the truth of what happened. I mean, can you... she needs to be arrested. Absolutely arrested. What is that called? Someone with a law degree, please tell me what that is called. I can call it cold-blooded Veronica. I could call it criminal Veronica. I could call it cover-up Veronica. I mean, come on. What is that called, y'all? And I'm wondering because what is his name? Senator, I'm always thinking of Micah. Ted Cruz. Senator Ted Cruz, he gets flipped off. And he agrees to the appointment of Jaime Esparza. Did he ever talk to Jaime Esparza about Richard's case? Did he also know? I want to know if Ted Cruz knew about this. Did he know that a multitude of agencies, including our Department of Defense, was hiding their remains? The FBI, a multitude. They knew about this. Was hiding the remains of our son before we even knew that he was missing? Devising a plan, a scheme, an asymmetric warfare tactic, military operations to hide what happened to Richard because they didn't want another Vanessa Guillen. They make everything a mess and they don't want to be held accountable. And yet they dare to tell us, can you believe it, that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is committing these high crimes that are so vicious that it should really, you should put the death penalty right on the table, right? And at our meetings, he is taunting us that they take underage drinking seriously. And that Richard, if he would have fought it, all the retaliation that he got, he could have got 6 years in prison at Fort Leonard Wood. Fort Leonard Wood. I'm questioning every service member that's at Fort Leonard Wood right now and their crimes. Because were they whistleblowers? Was this asymmetric warfare tactics used against them? Because this Sutherland Springs shooting victims, they were victims of the Air Force, not the leadership in the Air Force, not doing their job and not reporting that this airman had a history of violence and mental illness. And he was not in the system, and he was allowed to purchase this gun, and he was allowed to shoot people up. And that is why those Sutherland Springs shooting victims received this $144.5 million that was signed off by Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice. So, I'll take some questions now. So we've got so many crimes involved in this. And you know what my husband said? He said, I said, does Lieutenant General have to take orders from General McConville and for criminal activity like this? He said, absolutely not. And nobody in Richard's unit had to do it either. And I would have told them to all jump off a cliff. I am reporting this. But see, my dad was telling me, there's no esprit de corps. There's no esprit de corps. They have been so hypnotized, like, those swirly things in your eyes. They have been so groomed. They have been so programmed, so retaliated against with so much fear. Do you remember Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz? I know why he was shaking like crazy. We called him Shaky Jake. We said, yeah, Shaky Jake. He's shaking about something. Now we understand. Because they did not have the support system. They did not have the guts, the courage to do the right thing. To do the right thing. So any questions here? Thank you so much, y'all. Danielle, thank you. Yes. She's always in my prayers too, Danielle. Asha, you're always in my prayers. Donna here tonight. Collusion, in my opinion. Oh, this is so big. This is massive multi-collusion. Massive multi-collusion. So they must have put a gag order on the media, in my opinion, not to allow the media to mention them finding. Well, we have all these media links. And the media links, when you click on them, it goes to nothing. But if you go to a search engine, a certain kind of search engine, and you put in that link and you say, hey, can you tell me what's in this? Make a little outline to tell me what's in this article. It spits it all out. We've got papers. We got piles of papers everywhere because we print it out. I guess we're old school. We want it digitized, but we want it hard, and we want to read it. We want to have it in our hands and not have to look at a screen. And it's massive. And then you have to X out what you know is not true. Because, computers, you put garbage in, garbage comes out, right? But if you put truth in, you get some truth back. And so we're just like scratching through and making like, okay, this could be a possibility. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that would be a possibility. And what's coming back is very interesting. And then you let that out, and then people call because they realize, oh my gosh, this is unraveling. Because lies can only last so long, and they will totally unravel. And that's what's happening. So the truth will come out. It's like this big sieve right now. And we're trying to distinguish what is the truth and what is a lie. And we know that through all of this, it is a huge possibility, huge, because of different witnesses that we have, different boots on the ground that we have, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, other FBI and CID reports, and then the other information that's coming in, that Richard's remains were found. And it makes total sense why they didn't care about the canine search, why they didn't care about the task force Find Richard Halliday, why they had to stage it all. They didn't even have any op boards, why cover-up Veronica didn't put in any inquiries. Let me ask her. Ask her if she has put in an inquiry into the Find Richard Halliday. Ask her. Okay? When was the last one she did? It also explains why Richard's DUI charges were dismissed. It also explains why they had to try to smear him. It was like, why would you smear a soldier if you're trying to find him? Well, they weren't trying to find him. They were trying to cover up. Why they had to try to intimidate us? Why they threw us out? Because don't forget, they knew all of this. And then they were like, okay, 29, 27, 28, 29, 30 days. Good, throw them out. Right? Throw them out. We're going to throw them out. Whew! Whew. Now he's not in our jurisdiction anymore. They threw us out. So they threw Richard out. They threw us out. And we had to beg. We were begging them. And they already knew. They already knew they had found his remains. It makes sense. It makes sense why then the PAO goes, are you ready to hear about Richard? Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your prayers. Oh yeah, the PI. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely, it should be refunded. I hope. I hope that we're working on all kinds of stuff, and I wish we could work quicker. Um, but that's why we need those letters. Send more than one. Send more than one. And I did put up, and I have, Team Find Richard Halliday. They are so creative. They're like, okay, you did a form letter. Here's a form letter. Dear Mr. Horowitz, we are approaching 1,000 days since Richard vanished from his barracks room on Fort Bliss. We request Inspector General inspect the botched investigation of the whereabouts of Private Richard Halliday that has led to Team Find Richard Halliday being placed in harm's way. Richard is the first CONUS S1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart and under the People First Initiative. Richard was also the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle of basic training and advanced individual training. Where is Richard? Okay, so and I was told, hey, that's not so great of a letter. We need to pound it to them more. Pound it to them. That is our form letter. You can add and subtract, and this is your letter. We're not micromanagers. We're just asking that we need what we pay for. We pay for this. They are our servants. And we need them to do their duty. And Inspector Horowitz needs to do his duty in this case. And, I don't care how big it is. They made the mess. They have to clean it up. They made this mess. They have to clean it up. I don't care how big it is. And if we need lots of trials, because it's going to be lots of trials, whatever, but they cannot think that they can use our service members like this and then cover up for these kind of crimes and not be held accountable, because it's their duty to care for the soldiers. And Senator Cruz made a very good point about that. I think our service members have been so abused, and the veterans so abused, and that's why we have this criminal problem. Because they were more interested in their crimes at very high levels and getting their stars and working for the foreign and domestic enemies than looking after the well-being of our Constitution, defending our Constitution, the land and the people, and our volunteer sons and daughters that have volunteered to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. It got way out of hand. So, any questions? Thank you so much. I'm not getting a lot of the, information. I mean, the messages. I have to read the messages later a lot of times, but I'm getting the prayers. And so I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for that help. And okay, I think that tomorrow is going to be another day, and I will be back, God willing. I wish that our system would investigate Richard so we would sleep a little bit sounder and not be put in harm's way. But the more I put out, I mean, we're talking about luring a soldier out of a barracks to a party to torture him, beat him, stab him, whatnot to death, then throw his body in the back of a truck and take him out to God knows where. We're looking into that. To cut up his body in pieces and, like surgically, and distribute him so no one will find the body. Now, that is, and all of that happening very quickly. And the one set of partial body parts found, remains found 29 July 2020, another set 7 of August 2020, and we didn't even know. No one even contacted us. And then I have to come on and talk about these kind of things about my son. They are the worst type of criminals. They are absolutely vile and vulgar and just cold-blooded. So, anyway, say a lot of prayers, y'all. And let's thank God for Judge Javier Rodriguez for giving us an open door to, giving us an open door. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you.